Welcome to Vernon Howard's Higher World. Here are new solutions for your home life, love life, everywhere. Remember, you can be stronger than anything that now bothers you. Local classes will help you start life all over. Here is the way back home. Here is Vernon Howard.
Once upon a time, there was a broad, sunny meadow. And in this meadow lived a sheep, a flock of sheep, with one particular sheep that we're going to discuss right now, whose name was Shaggy Sleep Sheep. Now, why do you suppose his name was Shaggy Sleep Sheep? Because that's what he liked to do most of all, was to sleep. And when he wasn't sleeping, he would stand sort of dully in the meadow with gazed eyes, because his mind was dazed and he didn't really see anything looking out there. He just sort of stared his way through life like lots of human beings do. So one day he was standing in a place there looking around, and because he didn't understand himself, he didn't know that he was motivated by whatever he saw and whatever he heard. He never moved in any direction except that an outer object told him to move. For example, he'd see a very pretty clump of grass over there, and seeing that grass would make him amble on over and have lunch. Or he'd look in another direction and he'd see a very attractive girl sheep over there, and so he'd kind of amble over slowly in her direction. Everything that he did from the outside, never from inside himself, because he had no right nature inside himself. One day he was grazing dully over at the edge of the meadow. Large meadow, but every meadow has an edge, and there were woods beyond the meadow. And all around the edge of the meadow, there were signs that said something like, "Beware of the wolf. The wolf is in the woods. The wolf will get you if you don't watch out." All sorts of warning signs. So he looked at them. He obediently, in mechanical obedience to the rule, stayed within the meadow. But one day he was gazing at the edge and heard a little rustling in the bushes right beyond the signs, and he looked up a little bit startled, and he saw a shadowy figure out there, and the figure came closer and closer, and to his shock, it was the wolf. And the wolf immediately, no, the wolf tried to calm him down, said, no, I'm your friend. These signs are wrong. Whoever put those signs are trying to exploit you, trying to use you, trying to get something from you. I, the wolf, am your friend, and let me prove it to you. You have been selected, the wolf said, for special privileges. And of course, you've heard this before? The wolf didn't tell him that the sheep sleep's name had been selected from the phone book, did he? You have been selected for special privileges. And the minute he said that, you should have seen our sheepish sheep. His eyes lit up, became alive for the first time in 5 years. Why? Someone was going to give him something. He didn't have to earn it. He didn't have to plan to get it. Someone, some great whatever it was going to give him a gift. You know, you offer candy to a child, his eyes light up. Same with sleep sheep. So he already, do you know that he was gone before he even heard the wolf's temptation? Why was he gone? Because his nature was. He had no right judgment, no true caution, no intelligence. So the wolf went on. And he did what everyone does who wants to deceive another human being. He promised him unearned rewards. Anytime you have been taken, ladies, gentlemen, is because you fell for that line that somebody's going to give you something for nothing. And as often as you have heard that phrase, you still fall for it because you want to. But you don't detect it. You don't see it. You still want to believe in the magic wand that someone's going to wave in front of you and everything delightful is going to appear. So the wolf went into details, told the sheep exactly what he wanted to hear. How many of you can still be taken because you want to hear something and someone gives it to you? What do they promise you? You find out what the promise is and see where you're weak and where you're already gone, because you don't know that what really earning this life means is to wake up. That's the earning. That's the work you have to do to wake up. Nothing else. Okay, so our sheep didn't know that he was being taken, especially when the wolf said, we're going to make you a super sheep. We're going to give you a special section of the pasture with extra rich clover, a big fence around it. Nobody else can come in. It's exclusively yours. All the girl sheep are going to flock around you. You'll be popular. Have all the love you want. All the affection, all the food. He's gone. You again act as if that's happened to you. So, sleep sheep bowed his head. And then the wolf said, however, there is one little thing. One little thing you have to do. See, all the other sheep and the shepherd, they're hostile to me. I have no idea why. Because as you already know, I'm a pretty nice wolf. They're hostile, therefore, we have to get off the pasture, off the meadow, a little bit into the woods in order for me to tell you the great secrets and the marvelous things I'm going to give you. Simply because I like you. I like your looks. You really don't know how dumb the average human being is. Human beings are in their nature sheep. Sheepish and sheep. First you're a sheep and then you're sheepish over doing what a sheep does. So every day the wolf would creep up and whisper, come on over. And every day the wolf would lure the sheep a little bit deeper into the woods. A little deeper. And every time he got him a little deeper, the wolf always assured him, say, see, anything bad happened to you? No, nothing. Only good things have happened to you. I've promised you things, and pretty soon, in a few hours or a few days, you will get your reward. Charlatans always promise you your reward in the future. Now you know how to detect a human wolf when you see one. They always say, just as soon as. Do you notice that we never say that in this room? Not really. We know we live in time. You were told to wake up right now. Do it. Drop your thoughts right now. Interrupt them. Know that you're here. Don't think. Just know. So he continued to lure sleep sheep deeper and deeper into the woods with all the promises. And finally, about the 20th day, the wolf had led the sheep into a particularly distant place from where the meadow ended. And the sheep was standing there, dully as usually did, always looking for the wolf to tell him his next move. I have seen you people in this room do that. Standing, waiting for what? An excitement to come along? Someone to look at you so you can turn and nod at them or speak to them? You have no action from yourself at all. And the reason for that is you just don't know what to do with yourself. You don't know what is valuable for you to do. You don't know that you can be any place in this world, in any situation, and making an attempt to keep yourself awake. That's what you could be doing, but you forget that. Instead, you're still in a habit of satisfying your physical eyes and your ears, listening for some music to enchant you, listening for whatever you want to hear, and looking for sights. It doesn't make much difference who it is. You see a flash of movement and you turn. You're not living your own life, and that is why you're in danger from the wolf all the time, and why he lures you into the woods all the time. So, one day when they're out there together, the wolf was standing there talking to the sheep. All of a sudden the sheep heard an unusual sound, which was that of a gate closing. And he investigated and he found that he was trapped. All the bushes had concealed the fence that had been put out there, out in the dark woods that the wolf had put up there. He knew he was trapped. Look, have you ever been in a position where when the door closed, you knew it was too late, you were already trapped, now you're going to have to figure out a way out? Come on, hands. A romantic situation, a business matter, something with your family, with your relatives, where you got trapped because you stayed asleep instead of trying to wake yourself up any minute. You know what the sheep found out? You know what Sleep Sheep found out? He found out that there were 100 other sheep there who had preceded him in there. He saw them over there. Oh yes, one more thing. See, you don't know how bad people are until they slam the gate on you, till they steal your soul, steal your mind, steal your happiness. 1 second after the gate closed and Sleep Sheep heard that, you know what he heard next? Derisive laughter from the wolf. Those people, that organization, that human society that you now think is on your side they're not waiting till the door closes on you, the gate closes on you. They're ridiculing you right now. See, any human being who is so cruel, so vicious as to deceive, trap another human being for their own purposes will also have contempt for the victim. One negativity always includes another. And you know how you dislike being laughed at? You're being laughed at and you don't even know who's laughing at you. You know who's laughing at you? The ignorance that prevails in your life that you have tolerated. It is ignorance that is laughing at you. And when that ignorance dominates another human being, then it turns into words, into facial expressions. People don't show contempt and derision too much outwardly because they're always hoping for a chance to get you into an even deeper trap. Always more to try to get from you until they're through with you, until they're tired of you, you've exhausted all your resources to them. Anyway, from that day on, Sleep Sheep became just one of the victims, and the wolves sheared the sheep every day and sold their wool for profit to human beings. Every human being who does not live from the truth is engaged in trying to trick some other human being into serving them. I'll tell you why you don't have to do that. You don't have to be an evil human being anymore, because there is nothing that any other human being has what you need. You do not need anything from anyone. Now, listen to that, and look how it goes against everything that you've believed up until now. You would vow that you need the company of that man, that you have to have that woman, and you weep for 10 years over losing her. Let me tell you, you'll get over it.
Hi, this is Desi Arnaz Jr. Vernon Howard classes are essential for higher development.
You can hear Vernon Howard in person 4 times every week, Wednesday and Friday evenings at 7 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. Please support the program. Women, 50 Ways to See Through Men. That's the title of Vernon Howard's best-selling booklet. For your copy, send only $1. Write to New Life, 700 Wyoming Street, Boulder City, Nevada, 89005. Or call 293-4444. That's 293-4444. Welcome to Vernon Howard's Higher World. Here are new solutions for your home life, love life, everywhere. Remember, you can be stronger than anything that now bothers you. Local classes will help you start life all over. Here is the way back home. Here is Vernon Howard.
You never experience anything outside yourself. All experiences that you have are your experiences and your experiences only. You live, feel, think, emotionalize your own life from yourself, entirely separate from everyone else. You must see this and understand it. You don't understand it now because you don't want to understand it. What you do now is to think that you share experiences and emotions with other people, and you do not. You might have the same kind of an emotion that another person has, but that is not sharing the emotion. You are always in an independent state of living, feeling, and reacting. Now you may see this on the surface, but you must go much deeper than that until you understand thoroughly that everything that you experience and feel and think and say is your responsibility, yours alone, because it arises from you, a certain individual put into this world. When you see that you experience only yourself all the time, regardless of what you see out there, when you understand there is only you feeling the feeling, it develops in you a sense of responsibility for yourself that you never had before. When you know that anger originates in you and you alone, when you know that fury, any kind of a negative emotion, originates in you and you alone, then you take responsibility for it. Then you say, now wait a minute. Heretofore, I have looked around the world and blamed someone else for the way I feel. Forget it. Your feeling is your feeling. You chose that for yourself. Yes, you did. There is nothing outside of you that can force you to choose anger if you don't want to. You took it. You said that that is the appropriate emotion to have for me in this circumstance, in this challenge. Your feeling is your feeling always. No one can in reality impose any emotion, any state of defeat on you that you don't want to have. Understand then that your actions, reaction, moods, attitudes belong solely to you, within you. Therefore, you must change them in order to become a different kind of a person than you now are. This means you see clearly that you can't depend on any human being, any human circumstance outside of you to change you. Knowing clearly that you are the only problem you have, you also know clearly that you are the solution to yourself. Now this is very important to grasp. Don't let it pass over your head and go out into the atmosphere. as you understand your responsibilities, your responsibility for choosing wrong reactions, knowing that, you say to yourself, well, if I am the author of this very poor story, this poor love story in your marriage, this dreadful love story out in the world with women or with men, or any other kind of a story in any kind of a relationship, if I am the author of that, if I caused that, then I can also change it by changing me. You and it are always one and the same thing. You say you have pain, you have sorrow, you have anxiety. That is your nature. That is your responsibility. And nothing you ever do to try to get help from the outside is ever going to help you. I don't care if you've heard that principle before. I want you to do more than to hear it and have it stored up somewhere in your mind so that you simply remember it when someone tells it to you. I want you to know right now fully that since you only experience yourself because you react to the outer world, you can and must change the kind of a human being that you are in order to experience something higher. Only you can give to you what you want in order to be free of reacting wrongly to the world. You are free of the world if you only knew it, if you could understand what I'm talking about. In reality, in truth, all of you, in reality I say, are free to experience something new. And that something new, higher than what you are now, it knows something you don't presently know. What it knows is that it is free of the world, absolutely. The world and its pains and its sorrows. Truth is not involved, is not mixed up with the emotions of society. You don't have to be mixed up with the false moods and clamors of society. If you are, it is because you have sold yourself to it so that you can avoid the responsibility of seeing that you are responsible for yourself. The worst thing you can ever do for yourself as a human being is to try to get your mind off of yourself because you're afraid to face yourself as you presently exist and operate. Therefore, the best thing you can ever do for yourself is to refuse to get mixed up with the emotions, the madness, the falseness of human society. Refuse to be tempted by them. Refuse to go along with them. Refuse to have anything whatever to do with the wrong workings of every human being on earth. And that's so simple if you want to do it. Anything you want to do that is spiritual is easy to do if you just accept it and accept the reality that you are, in essence, your real nature is free and complete right now. You would know that, and you would feel that had you heard what you're talking about now and gone all the way with it. As you lived today and yesterday and 5 years ago, you had certain contacts with the exterior world. You had relationships with your family, your wife or husband. You had relationships with hundreds of people. As a result of those relationships, you got hurt. You got bewildered. You didn't know what to do. You didn't know how to behave. The reason for that is you didn't know what you can know now, which is, a little bit of summary here, which is that what you now are is what you now reproduce and send out into the world of relatives, friends, people, events. You send yourself out into the world where it reproduces itself, and you then do one thing with these outer events, with people. You experience yourself. Ever get angry? Quarrel with someone? Did you set off that other person, and on the very low level of quarreling, he got angry back at you? You were experiencing yourself. You got angry first, didn't you? You sent that anger out. You set him off. He sent his anger back. You got afraid of his anger, and you unfortunately loved the whole experience. And the reason you loved it is because you called it a necessity. This is your false feeling of life. This is your way of trying to feel on solid ground, feel that something exciting is happening. Whatever conditions you now find yourself in society, in your marriage, your friendships, where you go and what you do, everything that you experience is a result of what you are. When you are living from your real nature, experiencing the new, when you meet other people, when you have experiences, there isn't the slightest trace of anxiety about it. There is now, isn't there? The bewilderment is what to say and how to talk. There is complete freedom wherever you go. The place that used to be a prison has now been demolished. There's just free ground that you can walk all over in. Because there is no one there, listen to this, there is no one there trying to prove himself. See, when you try to prove yourself, that means you don't know who you are. And you're trying to find yourself. When you have found yourself, what need is there for proving? God doesn't have to prove himself. Truth doesn't have to prove itself. You being in that state, experiencing the timeless state, you being right in that, or a free, knowledgeable, wise human being, wise because you're in a new place. That new place always reproduces itself in the physical, social world. That is, you take the purity of truth itself into the world, and it is the purity of reality of truth that keeps you safe, 100% confident, always knowing what you're doing, and always doing what is right, because it is truth itself that is doing what is right. That is what is called living above this world.
Hi, this is Desi Arnaz Jr. Vernon Howard classes are essential for higher development.
You can hear Vernon Howard in person 4 times every week, Wednesday and Friday evenings at 7 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. Please support the program. Women, 50 Ways to See Through Men. That's the title of Vernon Howard's best-selling booklet. For your copy, send only $1. Write to New Life, 700 Wyoming Street, Boulder City, Nevada, 89005. Or call 293-4444. That's 293-4444. Welcome to Vernon Howard's Higher World. Here are new solutions for your home life, love life, everywhere. Remember, you can be stronger than anything that now bothers you. Local classes will help you start life all over. Here is the way back home. Here is Vernon Howard.
Take two men. One man is in what you call in his social character, he's industrious, he's alert, he's a businessman, and he takes care of his business, and he's what you would call a good, harmless man on the social level. And this man has some business to conduct in another town. A lengthy bit of business is going to take him there for 6 months. So this man who's industrious and self-reliant, he lives by the old-fashioned virtues. It's too bad they're not new-fashioned, isn't it? The virtues of self-honesty and self-reliance and acquiring self-knowledge. He moved from where he lived to this other town. And he went to work there. He had something definite to do. Set up an office, fulfilled the work, went down every day. After work, he'd go home, talk to his wife. They had dinner together. They'd watch television. Maybe on Sunday they'd go to the park. They'd have a little picnic. He led what you would call a socially acceptable life. A happy man on the social level only, you understand. There's a second man who lived in the same town originally that the first man did. He also moved to this town. But he was of a different character, a different nature. He wasn't self-reliant. He was a defeated man who loved being defeated because he loved his suppressed hostility. He liked being lost, which is a horrible condition for any human being to find himself in. Being lost is bad enough. There's hope for someone who is lost, but oh, how dreadful to be lost and to be dedicated to that above all else, because that means you're not going to listen to talks like this and find your way out. The second man, he drank a lot, and he had a lot of hidden hysteria and hostility in him. And he wasn't quite sure why he was going to this town. He'd read in the paper that something exciting was going on, an event there, something he was interested in. So he got on the bus and took the bus over to town. He got off, and he wasn't quite sure what he was doing there. Have you ever been in this condition? Have you ever gone somewhere and you wondered why on earth you got on the bus and went somewhere, and you decided to go back home? But if you went back home, follow this please. If you went back home, then you'd have to admit that you were foolish to have gone there in the first place, and your vanity can't stand that, so you stay there and suffer. Raise your hand if you've done that. Oh. This man, with his drinking and his anger and his surly, defeated attitude toward himself, toward life, and toward other people, he wandered around town and he got into trouble. He got into a brawl, quarreling with people. He didn't know what to do with himself all day long. He had no occupation of any kind. What's the difference in the two men? Each was experiencing what he was. Each experienced his dominating mood. One went, and because he took a good nature, socially good nature, there, it reproduced itself there. The other man, because he was lost and defeated, he took that there, and he experienced what he was there. Are you understanding what I'm getting at? If you really understand it, you can take parallels to what I've talked about with these two men, and you can set yourself free by seeing that whatever you are, whatever you really are inwardly is what you are going to experience outwardly. If you want to experience something different, then be someone different. That's what these classes are all about, to show you that complete self-reliance, backed by the Spirit of truth which you have invited, or a marvelous combination that eventually blend into one thing, in which you feel what you must do. It's not enough to know what you must do. All of you listening to me know very well what you must do, but you can't do it, can you? What if the second man went to the town? He said, well, I'm not going to get in trouble this time. I'm not going to drink and get in a brawl. It wouldn't do any good. See? He knows he shouldn't get into a quarrel, shouldn't fight, but he can't do it. He can't do what he says. The blending of your wish to be a different kind of a person, along with the invitation to the truth to help you to feel it. That combination will help you sometime when you go somewhere. All the time you're understanding what we've been discussing, that your nature, inner nature, always reproduces itself outward. There's no way it can't. It always must. Even if a hostile person suppresses it for a year, sooner or later that pressure is going to build so much it's going to explode, and he will express that hostility outward. And you know what I'm talking about, don't you? Sooner or later it must live itself outwardly. And look what it does against your health if you're that man who is defeated in life. Don't you want your health to be better? To be a spiritual human being is the single most best thing you can ever do for your ordinary health in this life. The single most important thing you can do. Understand then that you first are responsible for what happens to you. Then understand that you don't want a repetition of the events that happen to you, you know, in your romances, in your investments, in your daily life, in your mental life. If you don't want to suddenly feel bad in the middle of the day and don't know why, then understand that you have to have a nature that thinks different, that feels different. When you have this new nature, watch carefully and with pure delight how your former experiences and results fall away. I want to emphasize to you that inner transformation consists really of one thing only: the falling away. Oh, how many of you are clinging tightly to your belief that you are right when you know you're wrong? You're clinging to that, aren't you? Your fists are tight, hanging on to your false belief, your pretense that you know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. A person gets into trouble with himself or others. He doesn't know what he's doing. He can say he does, but he's deceiving himself. Now, it is the Spirit of truth that enables you, that does the work for you to unclench your fists, as I'm doing here to illustrate, to unclench your fists. It goes very slow, doesn't it? But it's very definite. And when you do, every experience that has harmed you, every bad relationship, falls away of itself. It falls away because you no longer wrongly value its presence in your life. You've understood there's no argument anymore. You've understood that a bad feeling is a bad feeling for you. Now you know that if you have an irritable mood, if you have a sense of argument, of fight in you, if you have that, it is because you have consented to that, because you are in love with a repetition of your experiences with other people, because you have in your delusion called repetition life. Life is never a repeat performance. Life is not the same page one after another. Life is always something that has no relationship to what went before. True life is something that does not depend upon you thinking about it in any way at all. True life, a true spiritual experience is a spiritual experience. There is no planning in it, no trying to hold on to it in order to feel secure. True spirituality, then, is the absence of all your previous experiences, memories, feelings. And when you are authentically spiritual, there is no way you can recreate the old, which goes out in the world and hurts you. There's no way you can recreate them simply because you don't want to recreate them. You don't want to be who you are anymore. Now that's it. Now look, you don't know who you're going to be yet, and you mustn't try. You mustn't imagine who you're going to be. That is one of the most trickiest traps any human being falls into. Religious people fall into that. You must not try to find out who you will be, or won't it be the working of your desire, of your mind, of imagination. Truth itself says, God himself says, it is enough for you to not want to be a carbon copy tomorrow of what you were today. It is enough to not want to repeat the way you talked yesterday, because you've examined it. You've seen the way you talk. You've seen the way you think. And you were shocked at your first real discernment of how you talked, which means what you were. And oh, what an embarrassing situation that is. Never mind the embarrassment. Never mind how completely humiliating it is to see that you have been a repetition today of everything that went on before. It is enough, once more, it is enough for you to simply not want to recreate your old nature again each day. That is what does it. That slows the human machine down to where it gets slower and slower, and when it finally stops, the ending of your old nature, even for a second or two, is the start of the new.
Hi, this is Desi Arnaz Jr. Vernon Howard classes are essential for higher development.
You can hear Vernon Howard in person 4 times every week, Wednesday and Friday evenings at 7 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. Please support the program. Women, 50 Ways to See Through Men. That's the title of Vernon Howard's best-selling booklet. For your copy, send only $1. Write to New Life, 700 Wyoming Street, Boulder City, Nevada, 89005. Or call 293-4444. That's 293-4444. Welcome to Vernon Howard's Higher World. Here are new solutions for your home life, love life, everywhere. Remember, you can be stronger than anything that now bothers you. Local classes will help you start life all over. Here is the way back home. Here is Vernon Howard.
Anger is a cry of desperation arising from alienation. Man is angry because he's apart from who he really is. When you're not with yourself, not in unity with your real nature, when you are separated from yourself, there is always anxiety. No matter what you do, where you go, in the wilderness of your separation from reality, you will always be afraid, and you will also be angry and anxious. All negativities, all sour moods, all striking out at the world are all connected, which means, by the way, that if you really get rid of one of them, you get rid of all of them. Being all connected together, if you toss out one bad piece of a part of you, the rest goes out in the same basket. Now, we're going to discuss now a certain phase of anger, irritation, churning inside. And that one phase expresses itself in angry complaint such as the following, and let's see if you have ever said that or said it already this morning. Here is one way in which people either to themselves or outwardly express their irritation and therefore their fear. They say, "So much is expected of me. Everyone makes demands on me, and the more I give them, the more they want. I am always serving other people, and they never serve me. As I give things to other people out of my good nature," the person is saying, "I give that out of the goodness of my heart, and they never return it. They never appreciate me." Now you know very well that all this is an angry cry of one thing: vanity, delusion, apartness. Only a self-alienated person could make a complaint like that. Furthermore, only a person who has settled down in the wilderness of his own misconceptions and negativities, only a person who's settled down in that would want to continue with it. He has found a place to live. How horrible that any human being has found false pleasure in complaining. And I want to give you a thought about that may have never occurred to you before. And when you hear it, it should startle you. It should startle you out of your complacency, out of your love for living in the wilderness within yourself, where you can just do anything you want to do, including being mad all the time. And, of course, suppressing it and pretending that you're nice. Look at the lie that you're so nice, you give so much to other people, and they never appreciate it or give you anything back. Have you ever heard of a more nervy falsehood than that? Oh, nothing is more common, because self-deceit and this kind of boasting about how nice you are all go together. Now listen to this. It can shake you awake if you see and understand. Your very complaints against anyone else or against life itself, your very complaint is what keeps in place the conditions you are complaining about. You are not only the originator of your exterior conditions, but you are the one who keeps them going, who feeds them constantly. Can't you see the simple fact of that? Your negative nature creates negative conditions, and because the negative conditions that you experience are like you and actually are you, but injurious reward of self-love. You get the reward of meeting yourself wherever you go. It goes like this. You, in your complaints that no one appreciates you, no one likes you, no one values you as highly as you should be valued. You, having that complaint within yourself, it becomes a part of your self-identity. It becomes of what you love. You love being what you are, and what you are is all wrong. You love that. You project it into the outer world, and you attract people who are just like you. You can't attract anyone who is unlike. You can't attract a nice person. You attract what you are. If you want to attract a nice person, be nice yourself, and it'll happen automatically. Even a person who has a little bit of rightness, you will recognize it and like that one part in them. You project your nature outwardly. Others who are like you sense it, are attracted to you, and now you fight. Now you quarrel, and you never had such a good, miserable time in your life as you have in quarreling with someone else outwardly, because that confirms your love for yourself, which you know nothing else but that. Now, there is a way of escape in what I'm talking about. There is a way which you can break the pattern of complaining, and never mind if you have nothing to complain about, you'll find it, you'll invent it. The smallest thing down at the restaurant, the waitress didn't treat you rightly. The smallest thing in the news that went against what you believe. You see, remember I used the word desperation in the opening comment. Your desperate nature is desperate to confirm its rightness, which is wrong, rightness, but is desperate to confirm itself, so it easily finds anything to crab about. All you want to do is feel yourself more. Now, the way to break this whole injurious pattern is to simply detach yourself from yourself, which is the same thing as detaching yourself from the outer world. Detach yourself from yourself. What does that mean? It means, first of all, your recognition of self-harming behavior as self-harming. See, before you thought the thrill of screaming at someone was good for you. It is not good for you. It is bad for you. It is bad for you to be bad. Now, some of you have never heard that before. Please, you don't know how vital it is for you to understand that. Detachment can be explained as follows. There are two kinds. You can detach yourself mentally from the world, for example. Detach yourself, which everyone who makes a mistake in spiritual development always does. Mental detachment from the world is hiding out, pulling the blankets up over your head at night in order to not be scared. Mental detachment is suppression, hiding out in the cave in the mountain, trying not to see reality. Mental detachment is simply refusing to see reality as it is and retreating into your own little neurotic, confining, miserable, wretched world. That is mental detachment, which is the way of the coward. The coward who calls himself brave, because once you get so deep in that dark cave of self-retreat, once you get so deeply into that, because you don't have reality to guide you, you call on your sickness to guide you, which it is delighted to do. And now, all you have to do to kid yourself, convince yourself, is to call yourself the exact opposite of what you really are. And when that gets hardened, What a sad, pathetic, and dangerous man or woman you see out there in the world. A cowardly person, all he has to do is call himself brave. A weak person can call himself strong. And right in the face of all evidence, he refuses to see it. Do you remember at various times in our classes, I've asked you to try a little experiment, which is just suddenly, right in the middle of your day, hold up a mirror in front of your face. You're working around the home and you spill some food all over the floor, and because you're all alone. If someone was there, you'd do it politely. You'd say, "Oh, how terrible," and you'd clean up the mess. Right? When you're all alone, it's different, right? Right in the middle of being all alone and angrily cleaning up the mess that you spilled because you were distracted, probably anyway, wrongly distracted, hold up a mirror in front of your face and see what kind of a person you really are. Aren't you overjoyed that there is a way for you to stop lying about what you are and paying a very, very heavy price for it? Oh, I tell you, you think you've ever done anything difficult in your life, like graduating from school or learning your profession or whatever. Nothing in this world is more difficult than to see through self-deception. I am telling you that, so that you will not go into easy assumptions that all you have to do is come to one or two classes and you can get over your self-deception. Not only that, the problem is far worse than you can now see, because you don't want to let go of it. You want to live in these nice, convenient complaints like playing the phonograph record over and over about how great you are and how no one appreciates it. How you are. Now I'll tell you, always a self-deceived person will have this in his mind somewhere, that he gives so much and gets so little. And do you see, can you look a little deeper into that, by the way? Can you see how that is the support of his false sense of identity, of his vanity, of his conceit, of his egotism? Can you see that's what he's really interested in? Being someone who is so badly cheated in spite of how nice and generous he is. Good way to keep your mind on yourself, on the supposed self, the delusory self, and I will tell you that it's a guaranteed way to get sicker and sicker and sicker. Something is going to have to stop those of you listening to me at this very minute. Something is going to have to stop you. Shall I tell you what it is? This may come as a surprise to you, because you've never understood any of these things before. Something has to stop you, and I'll tell you the only thing that can do it. Your willingness to let God stop you in your downward plunge.
Hi, this is Desi Arnaz Jr. Vernon Howard classes are essential for higher development.
You can hear Vernon Howard in person 4 times every week, Wednesday and Friday evenings at 7 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. Please support the program. Women, 50 Ways to See Through Men. That's the title of Vernon Howard's best-selling booklet. For your copy, send only $1. Write to New Life, 700 Wyoming Street, Boulder City, Nevada, 89005. Or call 293-4444. That's 293-4444. Welcome to Vernon Howard's Higher World. Here are new solutions for your home life, love life, everywhere. Remember, you can be stronger than anything that now bothers you. Local classes will help you start life all over. Here is the way back home. Here is Vernon Howard.
Don't you dare, for your sake, go out of this room, this hall today, without hanging on
as hard as you can to any one particular saving, healing truth that you've heard. Hang on to it for all you're worth and ask God himself to help you hang on to it. That's a nice cooperation. That's a nice partnership. Because when you hear these, everything that you have falsely loved, but which hates you, tells you, stay down in that pit and pretend that you already are in heaven, that you already know what you're doing. Every human being who has these complaints, these sorrows and these pains, every human being who suffers always insists, unknown to himself, insists that he already knows what life is all about. He must say that. And he must proclaim it on from the housetops as much as he can. He must try to convince himself at every moment that he is right when he, of course, he was actually wrong. There is nothing wrong. There is something right with you simply cease to welcome what has lied to you and has made you what you are today. You don't have to remain what you are today. Now, I said that the mental level is one thing, the spiritual is another. The spiritual world consists of your receptivity. Let's go at it very simply. The spiritual life consists of your receptivity to what you're hearing here. It is total detachment from a sick, savage society, so that you have no relationship at all, no mental relationship at all with society, except as you go about your business to buy groceries or drive your car and relate with other people in business matters. That is a necessary, the way it is now in this world, social activity. But you can be so completely spiritual that there is no connection at all with anything in this human society, so that now you never ever complain again about anything, because there is nothing to complain about. There is no self-picture of you, in other words, of being a persecuted person. Now, I've told you before, anyone who feels persecuted is a very dangerous human being. He's, first of all, a danger to himself and a danger to other people. But you see, when you're living from a healed mind, that healed mind is complete in itself. Before you were healed, you felt incomplete, and so you struck out at the world, secretly most of the time. You struck out at it in an attempt to feel something that would make you feel complete. But it was endless, wasn't it? Over and over again. And every lost person says to himself, when am I going to come to a place of rest? I better tell you, there is no place of rest in the wilderness. There are no stopping places at all. You must always run. You must always seek but never find. You must always get into relationships hoping that now you're going to feel right and feel fulfilled, and the next day they're going to collapse on top of you and you're going to cry out in pain. I want to repeat the way out in different words. Effective as of now, here is your exercise. Starting from this moment on and on, endlessly, you will never again complain about anything. Now, come on, now don't distort this. and say, you mean to say if we have wars, I shouldn't complain about wars? You are the cause of wars. Don't you war with yourself? Don't you war with your neighbor when his leaves fall over into your yard? Aren't you always at war? And you sign an armistice and it's broken the next day. There is no peace in the war land out there at all. If you were to simply drop all complaint, do you know what you would become? You would become something you have never been before. You would become an intelligent, healthy, decent, good human being. See why? If you have no complaints, instead of complaints, you have understanding. Knowing why you drove yourself crazy all these years, you look out at the world, and if someone treats you badly, what you used to call badly, you'll understand they couldn't do anything but that any more than you could. You couldn't be nice to other people. You vowed you would, and you made resolutions, didn't you? That you weren't going to get mad anymore, and it lasted 3 seconds. In wholeness, there is no relationship with the faults. The faults inside of you or the faults outside of you. So you walk through the world seeing everything, understanding everything, knowing absolutely that at last you have really found the place of rest. This is called the true spiritual life. If you're not at rest, you haven't found the spiritual life at all. You've found words. You've found phrases. You've found quotations. And you've also found hypocrisy. Don't you think that one of the most cruel things any human being could ever do is to mislead another human being in spiritual matters? Would you like to be so true to truth, so truly spiritual, that you have lost all compulsive need to mislead others in order to assure yourself that you are right? If you are wrong, you're wrong. And when you are wrong and insist on staying that way, spiritually wrong, you have a bad temper or whatever, when you have that, you must try to convince yourself that you don't have it. But since the whole thing is a contradiction and a lie, you will have anger because you're lost, and you will hurt everyone that you say you're trying to help. I want you to know finally that this is the way it is everywhere in the world. The only person you need to follow is God Himself. Don't take that shallowly, please. Take it as something so powerful, so overwhelming, that you want to love it instead of loving your own vagrant and weak and erroneous thoughts about life. There is something different for you to follow and love. To find what that is, you have to give up false solutions. Because every time you go into a false solution, like you're saying the solution to loneliness is getting married or meeting a lot of other people, every time you have a false solution and it fails, you get more desperate, and then you have to have more false solutions until you, no wonder you have no rest at all. I'll tell you what to do. I'll give you an exercise, a writing exercise. Take a piece of paper, write down on it, what does not solve my problems? What does not solve my problem? Now, come on, be real honest, please. Be very blunt with yourself. Make a long list. What does not solve my problems? Going around and crying your troubles on someone else's shoulder, and you just bore them, you know. Going around, oh yes, complaining how tough you've had it. Other people have had all the good breaks, and it's been bad for you ever since you were a little child. Look at that list. Make it a long one, at least 200 false solutions. Get a long piece of paper. Use the other side too. You'll need it. Face yourself so bluntly that for the first time you'll recognize something in you never saw before. Catch yourself in your daily contacts with other people and you'll see what your false solutions are. For example, hoping to impress someone else. Hoping that someone will like you because you do a certain thing, like smile at them or offer to help them in some way, which is simply, of course, bribing them, buying friendship, they call it. Make a long list, study it over and over. Let any little shock that you have at seeing yourself as you really are, let that shock become your teacher, and it will. And you will eventually go beyond the shock, which means because of your self-honesty, that wrong movement, the enemy within, the enemy has been exposed. And when it's exposed to your self-honesty, it can only do one thing, run away and leave you alone. Now you have if your list has 200 false solutions on it, you have 200 opportunities to change yourself from being a mental person who is unhappy to a spiritual person who is authentically triumphant.
Hi, this is Amy. Time to open the mailbox again. People all around the world are seeking higher answers. Here is perfect evidence from a young lady in Australia. I already have 11 tapes which my sister brought back from America for me. The tapes are so good, they are so full of truths. I have always searched for something but have never found it until now. It's such a relief to find that someone knows what they are talking about. I am looking forward to studying more of Vernon Howard's teachings. We often hear from ministers and religious workers. This letter came from Missouri. As a minister, I have often quoted Vernon Howard. We also carry a full line of his books and booklets in our bookstore. Is there a possibility that Mr. Howard would come to our church for a public lecture and seminar? Please let me know. Anger and irritation is a problem to many people, including this gentleman who writes us from Florida. I am a self-taught truth student of many years. I was just presented with a copy of Conquer Harmful Anger by Vernon Howard and almost instantly found several truths beautifully revealed. I want to hear more from you. Mr. Howard's presentation is clear and understandable. The next letter is from an enthusiastic lady in Oregon. I purchased Vernon Howard's Cosmic Command. I have read and contemplated hundreds of books since turning to the higher life, and I regard this one as a total jewel, one of the best, one I would not be without. It says it all and so completely well. I would like to order 2 from you. How nice to know that a higher path exists, and exists for you. So for now, yours truly, Amy.
Hi, this is Desi Arnaz Jr. Vernon Howard classes are essential for higher development.
You can hear Vernon Howard in person 4 times every week, Wednesday and Friday evenings at 7 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. Please support the program. Women, 50 Ways to See Through Men. That's the title of Vernon Howard's best-selling booklet. For your copy, send only $1. Write to New Life, 700 Wyoming Street, Boulder City, Nevada, 89005. Or call 293-4444. That's 293-4444.